Hello there, Mount Zion. I am Pastor Katina Parrish Clark, Associate Pastor of Congregational Care here at the Mount Zion Baptist Church. We have landed in the month of May, and May is Mental Health Awareness Month. Now, you all know that this month is near and dear to our hearts, as it also is to God's, because we know that God is equally concerned about our mental health as He is about our spiritual and physical health. And so on today, we thank you for joining us at another Deeper Dive series. All month during our Deeper Dive series, we're going to focus on various topics that can have a tremendous impact on our mental health. This year's Minding Our Mental Health series will cover 5 topics. Those topics include the stigmas broken, now what? We'll also include anxiety and depression, identifying and addressing them, substance abuse and its ties to mental health, and then of course we're going to talk about grief. Grief, it's unavoidable but not untreatable. And then the last week we're going to cover employee stress and burnout. We invite you to join in each week as a variety of licensed counselors and therapists delve into these topics to help us become better at minding our mental health. Mount Zion, we thank God for you joining us on today. And because we know God has been just as good to you as He has been to us, we want to extend the opportunity for you to sow into this ministry. So please give in the measure and manner in which God leads you, for we all know that God does love a cheerful giver. Well, I hope you're ready like I am to take this deeper dive with us into minding our mental health. Get ready, let's go.
Hello, my name is Alethia Faison. I am a marriage and family therapist and certified life coach. Today, I will be sharing about anxiety and depression and how to manage them both. Did you know that the Census Bureau and the National Center for Health Statistics created the Household Pulse survey to track the well-being of Americans during the pandemic? The survey concluded that 35.9% of adults report symptoms consistent with anxiety and depression diagnosis. Anxiety disorders are the most common mental illness in the U.S., affecting 40 million adults, 19.1% of the population, ages 18 and older every year. Women have consistently reported higher rates of symptoms related to anxiety and depression in this survey. So, what is anxiety and depression? Anxiety is a word used to describe feelings of uneasy, worry, and fear. It incorporates both the emotions and the physical sensations we may experience when we are worried or nervous about something. Although we usually find it unpleasant, anxiety is related to the fight or flight response, our normal biological reaction to feeling threatened. Anyone can feel anxiety or fear. Symptoms of anxiety. Symptoms can include feeling nervous, breathing rapidly, sweating, feeling of restlessness, trouble concentrating, or trouble sleeping. It's not unusual to experience anxiety before a big event or important decision, but chronic anxiety can be debilitating and lead to irrational thoughts and fears that interfere with your daily life. Causes of anxiety. Genetics, anxiety disorder can run in the family. Stress, daily stressors like traffic or missing a train. Childhood trauma. Experiencing childhood trauma can predispose people to developing anxiety. Brain chemistry. Difference in brain chemistry and function. Genetics, difference in how the threat is perceived. Caffeine. Many people rely on their morning cup of joe to wake up, but it may trigger anxiety. Financial concerns. Worrying about having enough money, saving debt, can trigger anxiety. Health issues. A health diagnosis that is upsetting or difficult, such as cancer or chronic illness, may trigger anxiety. Treatments of anxiety. Anxiety is treatable. For example, one can try mindfulness for the treatment of anxiety. Mindfulness is the type of meditation in which you focus on being intensely aware of what you're sensing and feeling in the moment, without interruption or judgment. Practicing mindfulness involves breathing methods, guided imagery, and other practices to relax the body and mind. We'll get to do an activity later. Sometimes physical activity, a healthy diet, and regular sleep may help. If you tried all of the above and are still struggling, maybe it's time to reach out to a medical doctor or maybe a therapist, someone who is trained to identify anxiety and help create a plan. Psychotherapy and medication are often used to treat anxiety. Some believe, as believers, if I take psychotropic medication or see a doctor about this, it means I don't trust God. No. That is far from the truth. Can God not work through the doctors, the therapists, or medication? Let's change our perspective. Your faith is in God, and God can work through these resources to help you become your best self. Let's turn our attention now to depression. Major depression disorders are one of the most common mental illnesses affecting more than 8%, 21 million, of Americans each year. 15% of youth, 3.7 million, ages 12 to 17, are affected by major depression. Adult women are more likely to have major depressive episodes. The prevalence among women is 10.5% versus 6.2% among men. Nearly everyone has felt depressed, sad, or down in the dumps at one time or another. Feeling depressed can be normal reaction to stressful events, such as when one suffers a loss or endures another's life of various struggles or stress. Typically, after time, our mood begins to lift and we can move on. However, there may be times where we don't bounce back, or maybe our coping skills just aren't hitting it and you need help. Depression can be caused by chemicals in the body, but can also come from events too overwhelming for us to endure, like the loss of a loved one, loss of income, a traumatic event, or a difficult diagnosis. Even the strongest of us feel weak at times, and that's okay. Please also understand depression is a serious medical condition that affects your behavior, your thinking, your emotions, and physical health over time. It can vary from mild to severe and can have a profound impact affecting every aspect of the individual, their relationship, family, and work life. Common symptoms of depression: feeling sad or empty, thoughts of death or suicide, aches and pains, feeling hopeless or helpless, feeling worthless, feeling excessive guilt, lack of appetite, no pleasure in activities, anger and irritability, insomnia or loss of sleep, poor memory, concentration, and decision making, overeating and weight gain. Some causes of depression: buildup of stress and anxiety from being bullied, working too hard, or family situation. Alcohol and drug abuse can cause depression. Grief or serious life changes, such as when someone dies, you may become sick, lose your job, or have an accident. Depression can also run in the family. You may inherit the gene that makes it more likely to have depression. However, if a family member suffers from depression, it doesn't mean that you will as well. If you think you're suffering from depression, talk to someone. Share your concerns with friends, family, and your healthcare provider, or make an appointment with a therapist. Treatment for depression. If someone has a mild case of depression, symptoms may go away on their own. If symptoms continue, then it may be time for support. Don't do it alone. A therapist can help you formulate a plan to treat your depression. In some cases, medication coupled with talk therapy seems to improve symptoms. Here are some other options for the treatment of depression. Cognitive behavioral therapy. This is talk therapy focused on modifying negative thoughts, behaviors, and emotions response associated with psychological distress. Medication may be an option. Antidepressants can help relieve symptoms of depression. Light therapy, which includes sitting close to a special light for 30 minutes a day, can improve depressive symptoms. Anxiety and depression are both treatable conditions. It's not uncommon for someone with anxiety disorder to suffer from depression or vice versa. Nearly 1/2 of those diagnosed with depression are also diagnosed with anxiety disorder. Think about anxiety and depression like that toxic couple we all know who bring out the worst in each other. We, researchers, don't get the attraction, but we can't deny it's there. Again, think about anxiety and depression as that couple. You avoid them at a dinner party, but now they live in your head and they never shut up. That is the relationship with anxiety and depression. So I know you're probably thinking, Alethia, how do I know the difference between anxiety and depression? Great question. Those who navigate anxiety disorders are typically stressed out about all of the ways that the future events can and will go wrong, where those who navigate depression dwell on past failures and are unable to find joy in the present and have no hope that the future will be any better. Here is a better example of the difference between anxiety and depression. Let's say you were invited to a party. Instead of attending, you stay in to spend time cuddled in the fetal position, crying into a box of wine. If you're home because you're exhausted and you already know you won't have fun, since you never have fun anymore. So that's the point. That's depression. If you're home because all of your party clothes look terrible on you, your car is making a weird noise, so you're probably going to get into an accident on the way, and even if you don't make it to the party, you'll look stupid when you can't pronounce the hostess' last name properly. That's anxiety. You may also ask the question, Alethia, I can't have anxiety or depression because I have God. Glad you have God, but you're wrong. Anyone can navigate anxiety and depression. As faith believers, we sometimes hear the comment that believers can't be depressed or have anxiety, that it's a sin. Well, let me just say that that is not true. Depression and anxiety are not sins. Depression and anxiety are not sins. Free yourself with that statement. Feelings associated with depression or anxiety are not sin. Neither is a diagnosis of major depressive disorder or anxiety disorder. Depression can be felt by any human, including faith believers. In the Bible, depression and hopelessness are felt by many. King David, as well as gospel leaders like Paul, who spent many years in prison. Paul, the greatest apostle of all times, experienced depression in 2 Corinthians 1:8-9. Paul wrote, "We don't want you in the dark, friends, about how hard it was when all this came down on us in Asia Providence. It was so bad, we didn't think we were going to make it. We felt like we'd been sent to death row, that it was all over for us. As it turned out, it was the best thing that could have happened. Instead of us trusting in our own strength or wit to get out of it, we were forced to trust God totally. Not a bad idea, since He's the God who raised the dead." I believe God knew that His people will experience feelings and emotions that sometimes are hard to manage. I mean, why would there be scriptures in the Bible about anxiety or worry if God didn't know His people would experience this? Oh, but there is an answer, such as Psalms 55:22, "Cast your burdens on the Lord, and He will sustain you. He will never permit the righteous to be moved." Like the word cast here means to cause to move or send forth by throwing. So when God says cast your cares, he means throw them to him. He can catch and handle those things. These scriptures remind us to turn to God in times of anxiety and depression and trust his plan for our lives. These scriptures also serve as reminders for us of the promises of God for peace and strength. God will keep him in perfect peace whose mind is stayed on him. That's something to be excited about. Know that our God knows that we may have these strong feelings and emotions, but provides scriptures to comfort and encourage us. God really loves his people. Lastly, I want to share with you a mindfulness activity that you can use if you're experiencing anxiety. If you feel yourself getting anxious or overwhelmed, try the 5-4-3-2-1 method. Today, I want to share with you a technique to help you manage symptoms of anxiety and depression. I want you to close your eyes and mentally go to your happy place. This is a place that brings you joy, peace, and calmness. Once you have this place in your mind, I want you to focus on 5 things you can hear. Acknowledge 4 things that you can touch. Acknowledge 3 things you can smell. Acknowledge 2 things you can see. And then acknowledge 1 thing you can taste. The 5-4-3-2-1 method can be used as a practical way to calm anxiety by isolating each of your senses through observation. This forces you to use your prefrontal cortex, where all your reasoning skills lie. And it allows you to focus on the present moment rather than whatever is causing you anxiety. I encourage you to try this technique the next time you feel a little anxiety. This has been Alethia Faison with Mind Your Mental Health on depression and anxiety. Should you require more information on depression or anxiety, go to the Center for Disease Control and Prevention at www.cdc.gov.
Wow, anxiety and depression are real, family. And all of us have experienced anxiety and depression at some level in our lives. And for that reason alone, it is good to know when what we experience needs to be addressed by a licensed professional. As your pastor, I want you to be aware of when you need to seek professional counseling to help you navigate through some of life's most challenging times. I want to thank God for you, therapist Alethia Faison, for sharing with us what anxiety and depression looks like played out in our lives. If you or someone you know is in need of a counselor or a therapist in the Nashville or surrounding area, you can make contact with Alethia Faison at the email address at the bottom of the screen. Or once again, visit the Mount Zion website, mtzionnashville.org, and find local and non-local resources to get connected.